I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode, a very special episode of the BOOM. Of course, as always, I am your host of the most, KMG. The man to the right of me is the man known as Phil Conn, and of course, at the bottom of your screen, the man on the ones and twos, making sure the show runs smooth, my producer and co-host at this time, that is Metalcore Mike. Gentlemen, we are joined here on a Thursday this time to talk about AEW Dynamite Winter is Coming that happened last night. But before we get into that, gentlemen, how is your Thursday evening going?
When you emphasized Thursday night, I was about to go, yeet. There's just like so much emphasis on that. It's Thursday, man. You know, I complain a lot about the wintertime because I hate the cold. I do. I hate the cold, right? So get up this morning and I take the dogs out. And Mina, who's been with me for 7 months, knows the deal that when it's cold out, we go out, do your business, and come back in. Lately, she has got into this groove of I don't know if you've guys ever seen I forget the dog's name on social media, but the girl, the owner, puts like a text thing for the dog to make it seem like the dog's talking, right? And when the dog like stares into space, it goes, something pondering, and I'm like, please, like, don't fucking, like, I look at her and she does the whole pondering thing, and I'm like, it's cold out. I'm freezing. Let's go. Let's get inside. Like, do your business and let's go. Like, it's been since midnight last night and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. 10 hours. Let's go. Let's go. And she's just like, nah, I'm going to be like, nah. I hate the cold, though.
Yeah.
That's that. And it's funny because it snowed the other day, right? We got some snow the other day.
Yeah.
And I figured it out in the past couple months that she's not a fan of rain, right? So it's snowing, and then it turned into sleet. And she goes out, does her thing, and we come back inside. Look, just like that. I'm like, why can't you be like this all the time? Yeah, we got snow, by the way. I hate the cold. I need to move to warmer climate. I do.
I would say so.
I do. I need to. I'm at that point. I'm old. The cold's starting to get to me.
Phil?
Yeah, the cold is not fun at all. But today, just a normal Thursday for me. Nothing real. Like, the whole entire week has kind of been dragging for me as of late, and it's kind of been happening for me the last couple of weeks. But when you're just kind of going through the motions like that, you kind of just gotta take life how it goes and just go through whatever you gotta go through. But yeah, we're here. We're talking wrestling. Let's do the thing.
My days blend together now. Like, it still feels like Wednesday to me.
That's what I mean. That's what they just continuously blend in, and when you do the exact same routine almost every single day, it kind of just feels like you're just living a non-ending day. It just doesn't stop. So
I realistically don't even have one of those anymore, which really sucks. It's been 8 weeks. The 24th, that's a month. Yeah, it's been 8 weeks. 8 weeks. Anyways.
Gentlemen, we are here to talk about AEW. Winter is coming. I don't know if this show was trying to, tuck me in, put me to sleep, but once again, another uninteresting and boring outing or showing, I guess, from AEW. I mean, it's realistically been their claim to fame, I think, in 2025. So this show was no different. This was easily probably one of the worst Winter is Coming shows that they probably have put on. So But we will get into it. We will discuss it. Not a whole lot that happened, except for one thing. There was one thing that I found a little bit interesting in this show, but we will definitely get there when the time comes. We open the show. Of course, it is time for the women's tag team title tournament final between the Babes of Wrath and the Timeless Love Bombs. For me, I would say this is a kind of an underwhelming final between these two teams. They're just makeshift teams. They're not even really legit teams that have been, with the company, for the long haul. I would say they were just drummed up for the sake of this tournament. So predictable, I would say, because I expected the Timeless Love Bombs to make it to the final. That was kind of obvious from the start, I think. Overall, not a horrible match. I think I've seen worse. Clunky at points. It just kind of seemed like they didn't know what was going on or what the next spot was supposed to be or whatever. So kind of sloppy in some points. I like the ending. The ending was impactful. Kind of shocked that the Timeless Love Bombs did not win this match. But overall, I don't know how far the Babes of Wrath go with the tag team titles. To me, again, it's just another makeshift tag team. I'm not quite sure. Again, it's the same thing with Brodito. We talked about that in longevity or in length about their longevity and what their ceiling really is. And we all kind of agreed that their ceiling was pretty low. We just didn't know how far they could really take it with those tag team titles. And as you can see, as a result, they are no longer tag team champions. So we'll definitely have to see, what they can do and how interesting or a lack thereof, I guess, they can take with this Babes of Wrath tag team title reign. But they are your inaugural women's tag team champions nonetheless. Once again, they had another opportunity to do something interesting here or do something fun here and potentially turn Tony Storm, Timeless Tony Storm, heel after the match. But of course, they decided to shake hands. That's typically what you get when you have two babyface tag teams, which is why this should not happen. You should have at least one heel tag team involved in this. Therefore, you get good versus bad, evil, good, light, dark. You get what I'm saying. So that's the problem with, I think, two babyface tag teams is there's too much friendliness. There's too much kissing and hugging. Like, we don't want to see that. Like, we want to see some actual real competitive nature here. That where these two teams, like, they hate each other. You just didn't get that. So once again, with Tony Khan, I don't know if we need to like underhand throw him the ball for him to hit it for him to turn Tony heel. I mean, he's had how many opportunities now at this point, and he just doesn't. He just hasn't. So I don't know what's next for Tony Storm. I don't know what's next for Mina Shirakawa. But again, I would assume they're going to just go on as if nothing happened, as if this tournament never happened, and just continue with whatever it is that they do. So that's typically how this company rolls. Nothing matters the next week. Nothing connects. Nothing is fun or interesting anymore. Everything is just kind of bland. So I'm gonna get you guys' thoughts on these tag team title, the final, with the Babes of Wrath winning the inaugural women's tag team titles. Mike, I'm starting with you.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I always make the comment of when you have two baby faces, whether it's in singles action, tag team action, or in AEW's case, since we see it almost every week, 8 on 8, 16-man tag team matches. You put two babyface tag teams in this final. Why? That's the question. To get a pop from the crowd? Pop sucked. There was none. I literally rewinded this twice during the celebration to see if there was any type of crowd reaction. There was none. Then their timing with the pyro. Half the pyro celebration thing wasn't even caught on camera. The camera was in front of it while it was behind the camera. Like, I get you tried to pull a WWE stunt and you crown a new champion on TV, make the pyro. What are you doing? Get the camera facing the ring with the power in the background and make the celebration right. But the celebration sucked anyways because the crowd wasn't even into it. And I'll say this, I wasn't into this. You're right. You get these two babyface tag teams who you get the whole handshaking and lovey-dovey thing, whatever. But then not only that, They make it seem like they know each other's moves. They make it seem like they know every step that they're going to do. And then when it comes to spots, they mess them up. I'm not going to say that this match was terrible. It wasn't. But they could have done better. If this was the outcome you had planned 8 weeks ago, when you, or however long it was, when you decided to make this tournament and come out with these tag team titles, if this was your plan, you might as well just hand it one of these teams the belts and not even had the tournament. You had 2 tag teams in this tournament that have been together longer than this tournament existed. They were established tag teams, and you knocked them out in the first and second round. Like, I get that these 2 teams are fan favorites. I get it. But it's the always the bearing question when we crown new champions. What's next? What's next? Are you going to have them face the Sisters of Sin, who should realistically probably be, there's a lot of wind coming, so I apologize. It's very windy here today, so you guys may hear it. But you're going to have them face the Sisters of Sin next, only to go face the Sisters of Sin, who technically should probably be the first tag team champions. You're gonna cut away that right away. But then what? Because a lot of these tag teams weren't established. They weren't. And that's the thing is it's a new category for them, women's tag team division or whatever you want to call it. So it's bound to happen that we're gonna have created tag teams. But why not start off with having an established tag team win these belts, like the Sisters of Sin? That would have made a lot more sense. But instead, we go with a tag team that got put together at the beginning of this tournament. So, I don't know. Really don't know. I don't like it. Don't like it at all.
Phil?
And Mike, that is exactly what I've been preaching this entire time from the moment that this tournament began. You have 2 incredibly amazing tag teams that have equity behind them in the Sisters of Sin and TJ. And you decide to take them out of the rounds that you put them out of. And that completely, to me, I don't think it technically completely ruined the credibility of everything that you kind of gave up here, but you lost a lot of it when those 2 teams got out of there. And to me, like, having one of those 2 teams, like either Tony and Mina or even the Babes of Wrath, become like an underdog type story to get to a finals like this, I wouldn't technically have minded that if you actually told that kind of story going in against a heel team like the Sisters of Sin, let's say, to try to fight from behind and actually possibly win the tag team titles over the heel team. But you didn't do that. And then when you have these 2 babyface teams, like you guys said, that kind of realistically don't have any kind of connection with each other whatsoever in terms of just facing each other, feuding with each other, all in all, it just didn't feel like they had that kind of oomph that you needed for crowning the first ever inaugural tag team champions. I don't think the match is that bad as you guys are making it seem, and that's fine. But the fact of the matter is, I really do feel like when you're crowning the inaugural tag team champions, you should have a lot of equity behind it. And these 2 teams really don't have that much of it. So you got to build from here. You know, it looks like we're going to be getting the Sisters of Sin going after the baby faces. If you guys actually switch those roles around and you actually had the baby faces go after the heel tag teams, maybe, just maybe, it would have worked out in a little bit of a better light. But it is what it is. And now we got to see what Harley and Willow can do as tag team champions. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is at that point.
I do want to say this. I feel like we've obviously had a lot of time to think about this with them introducing the tag team championships. Back in 2021 during the pandemic, I on a podcast that I did during the pandemic, it was my very first pro wrestling podcast I've ever done. Me and my co-host talked about the AEW coming out with women's tag team championships because the ones in WWE were fairly new, because we got the ones in WWE back in 2019. So they were fairly new, but you very quickly seen their women's tag team division starting to kind of crumble because they didn't make the women's tag team titles to the importance that it should have been. And I kept saying, I feel like AEW, because they made a big announcement at Bound for Glory every year, or not Bound for Glory, at Double or Nothing, every year they would make a big announcement, whether it was a big comeback or they would introduce a championship or introduce somebody signing with the company. Like, there would always be a big announcement. And I said for that year at Double or Nothing in 2021, they were back in Daly's place with a crowd, introduced the women's tag team championships. You had that, and in 2021, if you go back and look at the history of AEW back in 2021, they actually had a pretty good lineup of women's tag teams without considering them actual tag teams. They were just teaming together. So I said, this is the perfect time to do it. And they said, oh, we're going to have a big announcement at Double or Nothing. And I was sitting there literally preaching women's tag team championships. I went on social media almost every day, hashtag to Tony Khan, women's tag team championships. I stopped after a couple days because I just got sick of doing it. But it was just the fact of, like, you should have done this 4 years ago when you guys were red hot. You had legitimate women tag teams who were tagging every week and things weren't changing up or anything like that. And your women's tag team division had somewhat of popularity to it. I think they are 4 years too late on this, and that's why last night they didn't get the reaction they were looking for, and they are not going to get the reaction they're looking for until they put these belts on the right team, which would be an established tag team, whether it's TJ, the Sisters of Sin, or any other established. I mean, hey, let's say in a year or two, say the Iconics come in. They're an established tag team. I think they will get their reaction they were looking for when they put these on an established tag team that was not just made 3 weeks ago.
Cannon Carter, Katana Chance, that would have been another great tag team to have involved in this. But
Please,
you know,
and I'm still holding out hope we see them. Please, so
or Lacey Lane. Sorry, not Cannon Carter anymore. But whatever.
it's the same thing. It's the same.
Yeah.
Thing. But anyway, only time will tell. We'll definitely have to see what happens with the women's tag team titles and their immediate future. Next, we had Samoa Joe backstage, basically telling Eddie Kingston that because last week he had a whole promo. I was in attendance last week. That's why there was no show last week. I thought that was a fantastic promo from Eddie Kingston, probably one of his best in a while. And he said that he basically wants the real Samoa Joe, the one that had not just a great Ring of Honor championship reign, but probably the greatest Ring of Honor championship reign of all time. So this week, Samoa Joe responds to that and basically says that he tells Eddie Kingston this is the real him. This is actually him in his truest of forms. He is ruthless and he doesn't care for men like him. So again, hyping the main event match for the World Championship. And it's funny how he got here too, isn't it? Because I think every time I keep opening my mouth about something that can potentially happen, it happens. Because I mean, think about it.
You do have a tendency of that.
Yeah.
The last time I said that regarding the World Championship in AEW, the last time I said that regarding the World Championship in AEW was back when Hangman won the championship, when he first won the championship. And then what was the next week? They had this whole program where it was him and Mox and this whole brawl and stuff like that. And I said, why do I feel like we're headed back for a rematch with Mox and Hangman? And you guys sat here and was like, nah, there's no way. They're done with that. Then literally the next week they had a rematch for the World Championship. Wow. It's like he's listening to me. I don't know. Or he's in my head. I don't know.
I've come to the determination that Cam's a psychic and he just doesn't want to tell us.
He has the AEW script and he doesn't want to tell us. or he does tell us in it.
It's just a psychic. In general, he's a psychic. Like when we're talking football on Sundays, I mean, he'll say something and it literally happens like 2 hours later in a game. And I'm like, do you know something we don't know? Like, Cam, who's winning the Super Bowl this year?
He's
like,
got the freaking script, bro. I'm telling you.
No, he's just a psychic. Like,
it's so weird.
Phil, this is the thing: is this isn't the only time that this has happened. I mean, this has been happening.
That's what I'm saying.
This has been happening for well over a year now. Since
That's what I'm saying. He's had scripts for a long ass time. They just he knows. He just freaking knows.
It's insane. And then I think not last week, but I believe the week before that. We talked about the potential of Eddie Kingston being number one contender after beating Shibata, or the possibility of him beating Shibata that Saturday at that collision, and then gets for whatever reason gets granted the number one contendership for the World Heavyweight Championship, since for some reason beating Shibata is of that importance that he gets a world championship match.
Beat an honest member, you automatically get a world title shot. Like, that's just how they go with it, and it's just ridiculous.
So I talked that up into existence as well. So then in Winter is Coming, last night we had the number one contender, quote unquote, Eddie Kingston taking on Samoa Joe. So it's just like every time I keep opening my mouth about something potentially happening, it happens. So here we are once again.
Good. Say something good, so we can figure something out.
I don't know what's happening. So I don't know. I'm gonna be very careful with what I say from now on, because it just keeps happening. I don't know what it is.
No, you don't have to be careful. Just say something good, so we can
put it out in the air that I'm going to win the lottery, please. I'll share. I promise.
Mike, you're going to win the lottery.
I'm going to play now. Saturday's Powerball. Yes.
Put it out there in the air.
That'd be some shit. No, that's the thing. That'd be some shit if I did. I go play and I win. Right? Right?
That'd be wild.
I'll share. I promise.
I'll be like, do I have magical powers? That'd be insane.
You're psychic. That's all there is to it. I've come to accept that a long time ago. It's just about getting you to accept it, and I'm trying. But
me personally, I appreciate it. But me personally, I feel like it's just a coincidence. But I don't
There's
know.
no such things as coincidence in pro wrestling, brother. You know that as much as I do when it comes down to this world of pro wrestling. There's no coincidence here.
So I don't know if this happens anymore, then who knows? Maybe I will start being a believer. I don't know. But the next thing we got Jon Moxley and the Death Riders. So of course Jon Moxley's talking about his shortcomings and how he's behind. His back is against the wall in this Continental Classic right now, and he realizes he's running out of time. Now here's the part where this promo I think really kind of made me laugh, because then you had Garcia, who then chimes in and says, "Every day we wake up and we win." I'm sorry.
You don't.
I'm sorry. This group is on a massive losing streak last time I checked. Okay. So is Jon Moxley. So I'm a little lost on that one, but whatever. Now, interestingly, and I shouldn't point these things out because I don't think anything's going to come of it anyways, but the two people that were notably missing from this segment was Claudio and Pac. Now, maybe that's nothing, but I thought that was a little interesting. Is maybe this group, some parts of this group, some members of this group, starting to lose faith and trust in Jon Moxley leading them into the promised land?
It should be.
I don't know. Probably not, because this group can just lose and lose and lose and lose, and nothing happens. They just go on like business as usual. So, but that would be interesting. I even seen a push Claudio sign in the crowd, and I'm like, yes, make 1,000 more of those and put them in the crowd. Absolutely, I've been saying that. He doesn't.
This is our own section back rolling, please.
Exactly. Please, he doesn't need this group. He's a fantastic wrestler on his own, and he would be a fantastic babyface. I think he would blow up.
Yes.
So
yes.
I don't know, but we'll definitely have to see there. If you guys have anything on this Jon Moxley rambling promo, please, Phil, I'm gonna start with you.
I mean, when I heard Daniel Garcia speak words out of his mouth about winning, I was the exact same way as you. I was like, what the hell are you even talking about, Daniel? We haven't won in years, or what it seems like. But I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, they're trying to do this thing with Jon Moxley, and how I did notice that too with Claudio and Pac not being there. They should 1,000% be logical into thinking of the fact of the matter is these guys are not believing in Jon Moxley anymore. I mean, you see Claudio in the last couple of weeks gaining some momentum for his own merits. You know, doing stuff in the C2. He lost to Masquerade Dorado on an episode of Collision, which I felt like was just ridiculous. But he's doing some good things in the C2, and he should realistically at least get somewhere close to the finals. I'm not saying he has to be in that championship final, but he's got to at least get somewhere near the top of the leaderboard for this league that he's in. And you continuously have Jon Moxley on this downward spiral, and you just go to the boiling point of trying to figure out what the rest of the, I was going to say Blackpool Combat Club, it's the same thing, so don't mind me. The whole thing, where the Death Riders go from here after Jon Moxley is said and done. Then after that, it's up to AEW and Tony Khan, and I don't think that that's a good idea to have. So Claudio, he should keep going on this upper trajectory. Jon Moxley, go back down.
I agree. I mean, like I said, do something interesting, and just keep that going. You know, they obviously tried to make a point or make something out of. I don't know. It just felt like they were going somewhere with the whole Kyle O'Reilly brief feud there. You know, he's tapped out now twice to Kyle O'Reilly, so that seems to be done. So maybe they continue, you know, having Moxley just lose to just various different people on this roster. I don't know.
As much as AEW is up and down, they do have stuff for a reason. At times.
You would think sometimes.
So I did some snooping to see why Claudio and Pac weren't there last night. I know why, but I agree. I think with their absence, they can always turn it into something, because something's got to change with what this group is doing. When they do interviews the way they're doing them, at first it was unique. You know what last night's interview reminded me of? The Shield. Without the effects of the screen turning black and white and them using a handheld camera. Last night's promo reminded me of the Shield. Something that's been dead and gone for years. Something that's in the history books. And yes, the nostalgia could be there of the fact of doing a Shield-like promo. But let's face it, Cam, Phil, asking you guys the question, do you guys think about the Shield anymore?
Not really.
No. They were a great time, though, when they were happening.
They were a great time. But do they feel as important today as they did even 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when they tried to do their farewell tour in WWE, or 10 years ago when they first came out in WWE? Or
it's rarely talked about at all.
That's what I mean. They are considered a historic group, but I don't think at this point trying to build off a nostalgia moment of doing a Shield-like promo is going to help them. And I'm talking this group, the Death Riders. With Claudio and Pac not being there, again, I looked it up on why they weren't there. They can build off of this. They can build off of them not being there. Depending on how long Pac is going to be out, they can build off of it. It's going to all consider on how long he's going to be out. He got injured last week. Dealing with a leg and ankle. Yes.
Great.
And Claudio was not there because of personal reasons, but he'll be back next week, I'm guessing.
Well,
so
that's fine.
But even if you build off of the fact that Claudio was not there this week and he comes back next week and something goes down, or something goes down in a month where Claudio, turns on Mox and says, you're not fit to lead this group anymore, they could play off of it. And with Pac, let's face it, Pac just needs to be not in a group. He needs to stay solo, because if this injury is long-term, his membership in this group is pretty much irrelevant. His spot in this group are irrelevant, and they should just keep it the way it is. So I think the Death Riders thing definitely needs a change, and I think they need to start going a different direction, whether it's kicking Mox out like we talked about in the past, or just simply just breaking this group up, because at this point things are just, it's stale. It's way stale.
So with the Claudio thing, because I just looked it up myself, because I didn't hear anything about this. This is a golden opportunity. keep him off TV for however long he wants to be off TV. Have him come back refreshed, renewed, and just I don't know. You build from there. I think the golden opportunity is to then have this tension with Moxley and Claudio. Why not? Because I mean the last time, the very next time I guess you see Claudio, however long that may be that he's gone, his last victory I guess would have been over the quote unquote leader of the Death Riders, and that's Jon Moxley. So you could have Moxley not really liking that too much, and having Claudio kind of starting to believe in his own hype because he's beaten Jon Moxley. He feels like he's kind of over the group. He doesn't need the group anymore, and Mox is just trying to like keep him in line. Something like that. He doesn't need to be, you know, Academy Award winning storytelling, but something like that, and then you just build Claudio from there, and that's fantastic to me. So this could be a blessing in disguise, just having him off TV for a little while, have him come back, and like I said, he will blow up because the Cesaro section and all that worked wonders in WWE. You know, but for whatever reason, whatever Vince's vision, when his twisted mind, just it didn't go how it was supposed to go. You have a golden opportunity to correct that, and I think make him a big success as a babyface in AEW. So I'm going to keep preaching that until it happens. So, but we'll see what happens. Only in due time, right? So
the only pushback I have with that is that he's got to at least finish this Continental Classic out. He's going to finish this Continental Classic out. So he's going to be back within the next couple of days. He's going to have to finish this out. But in this tournament, he's got to be in a way better spot than Jon Moxley. That's all I'll say. Like he has to be like in a way better spot, point wise, position wise, and just honestly be better in every single way than what Jon Moxley is right now.
Yeah, you definitely do have a point there. I completely just forgot about the Continental Classic. So yeah, you do have a point. He definitely has to finish this out first, or what not have you. So
just have him be on the higher upper echelon of talent rather than Jon Moxley, and then you can have that kind of like I'm better than you kind of mentality, and then get right there.
Yeah. So, but like I said, in due time, we'll definitely have to see what happens there. Speaking of the Continental Classic, in the Gold League, the next match we had was a Gold League Continental Classic match. Kazuchika Okada versus Jungle Jack Perry. This was a weird match to me. There's some weird spots in there. Obviously, I think y'all all know what I'm talking about. Overall, I mean, this match went very, very long, but I think this match went long only to sell to drive home the one story I think they have going in this entire episode of Dynamite on Wednesday night for, you know, the Elite coming back together and then taking on the Don Callis family and the money being involved and all that jazz. So that was, I think, the reason they really had this match go so long. Definitely agree with what Mike had said off camera about this match going a little too long or whatnot have you. Not a terrible match. Probably one of the better Okada matches I've seen in a while. Like I said, again, I think he's in a point where Okada is paid. He's already signed his contract. Okada doesn't really. He doesn't. He must not feel the need to really go out there and put on 30-40 minute matches anymore, like he was in New Japan. He doesn't need to do it. He's already paid. He already made his money. There's just no need. So he needs to be put in the ring with people that are going to push him to his limit, and people that I think are going to really challenge him in the ring for us to get any resemblance of the old Okada from New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that's what I think, and I think this is one of the closest things I think you're going to get outside of another match or another feud with Kenny Omega, I believe. After the match, of course, the rest of the Don Callis and the rest of Don Callis family come out. They help up Jungle Jack Perry up to his feet. Callis says that was one hell of a match. That was one of the toughest Okada matches I've seen in quite a while. He offers him the duffel bag of money that they got from the Young Bucks, and of course, he says that was his signing bonus if he accepts the offer to join the Don Callis family. And then, of course, Jack Perry says he's going to do something that he did in the match, and that's bite off more than he can chew. And then, of course, he boldly goes after the rest of the Don Callis family members 7-on-1. Of course, his tag team partner, Luchasaurus, then comes out for the save. And, of course, the Young Bucks come and blindside the rest of the Don Callis family, clearing them out of the ring. Again, like I said, another massive brawl with a bunch of people in a group. heels and the baby faces involved. It's not like anything we haven't already seen countless times before. It didn't really have the impact that it normally has, I guess. The crowd just didn't really seem to, they cared, but they didn't really care enough to, I don't know, add more to the moment, if that makes any sense. So it didn't really get much of a reaction, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But overall, I thought this was an okay match. Again, I could really care less about what happens in this Continental Classic as long as I'm getting Okada and Takeshita. That's it. That's all I really care about. I don't care about anything else. If that's not somewhere in this tournament, this is a complete failure because I don't really care anything about this Continental Classic. I really don't. I care more about a story being told, and right now there is just none. So, but I'm gonna get you guys' thoughts on this match: Kazuchika Okada versus Jungle Jack Perry. Mike, I'm gonna start with you.
Yeah, like you said, this match went way too long than what it needed to go. It did. I get it. You probably did this, had this outcome of Okada winning. Number one, you're not going to have Okada lose 2 straight, tournament matches. That's not going to happen. You don't do that to him, especially with him basically being the defending Continental Champion. Yes, he has, the unified thing and all that stuff. Yeah, whatever. He still is defending Continental Champion because he won it last year. You don't have him lose 2 straight matches. I mean, it was big when Kyle Fletcher beat him. Would it have made sense to have Jack Perry beat him? Probably. It probably would have. But would it have benefited Jack Perry that much? No. It wouldn't have benefited him at all. He would have got some points because at the end of the day, if this was your setup, if this was your plan, whether Jack Perry won or lost, it still wouldn't have, even though Jack Perry at the end of the brawl stood tall, wouldn't have done, I rhymed. Even though Jack Perry stood tall at the end of that brawl, it's still a win would not have benefited him. It wouldn't have. This was more so of that continuation story of the Young Bucks walking out of Kenny Omega's locker room and talking to Kenny and, the possibilities of the Elite coming back together and all that stuff. That's what this was for. It was. And him, I mean, he bit Okada's dick. Let's just say it's out there. The whole line of like, oh, biting off, for the second time, what I did in the match, biting off more than I could choose type of thing. I mean, if that was, for you to do that just to get to that punchline in the promo, I mean, hats off to Jack Perry for getting there. It was a nice little pop, and yeah, I don't know, match too long, and the brawl was just, these guys seemed like they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They didn't. I mean, the hesitations on moves. I mean, you got the Young Bucks in there who are a tag team who should be used to, I mean, all these guys should be used to 10, 15 people in the ring at the same time. They do it every week. Just the hesitation on things had me fucking cracking up. It did. Because it's like you guys are so used to this, and now you guys are hesitant on doing stuff. Come on now. Come on. So, I don't know. It's okay, I guess.
Phil?
I didn't care about the brawl afterwards at all. It's just not really a thing. If anything, I'm just numb to like, okay, there's a brawl. There you go. Perfect. Fantastic. That's normally what AEW does anyway. The match, though, I don't know how long you guys thought this match was, but I felt like it was only 12 minutes, which I don't realistically think that that's even long for AEW standards. I think that's kind of like just a normal match.
They took
it was like a 12, 13-minute match. It wasn't that long.
They took 2 commercial breaks.
They probably did very short ones. I don't know, but it really wasn't that long of a match. But obviously Kazuchika was winning the thing. Jack Perry was a replacement for Darby Allin in this thing. And even then, I don't even realistically think Darby Allin, who is now hurt again, is now, Jack Perry isn't really going to do too much in this tournament. And I realistically don't think Darby Allin was going to do much either.
No.
The tournament and the story is Takeshita and Okada. That is what we're building towards, just like Cam said. And you're focusing on that, and you're even focusing on Kyle Fletcher for a little bit longer until you get there. That's what all of this is. He gets the win, does Okada, and you continue everything from there. But overall, you're doing the $1 million 6-man tag team thing for, I believe, the Christmas Eve edition or whatever, with the Elite going after Don Callis family. And after that, I'm just done. I'm done with $1 million, even though I would love to have it. I'm just done. I don't care anymore about this whole Elite and Don Callis family garbage. I just want to see either the Elite do something else that's actually more productive and just be on our own merry way.
Yeah, I can agree. I think whatever they do next with the Elite, this has to be. I don't want to say the payoff because it hasn't really been paying off thus far. They got us to the big milestone, which the biggest milestone was at Full Gear, and that was reuniting the Bucks and Kenny Omega. We got there, great, cool. What's the next big one? I couldn't tell you. So this has to be the closing of the book with this story, because I don't see what else they do. The money thing is that's really just a Bucks and Don Callis thing. Kenny doesn't care. He said that tonight about the money. So that needs to go away.
He's like, I'll kick their asses for free. But
yeah,
I mean, regardless, it is what it is.
That needs to be deaded already, because it has no point to anything else outside of what Don Callis and the Bucks are doing right now. So, but
this is why I was very adamant of them not doing these whole money matches to goddamn begin with.
Yeah.
Because when you do this, you pigeonhole yourself into doing these matches week in and week out. And what have they exactly been doing? They have been doing these matches week in and week out for money that, yeah, sure, you can actually have them get the money. I don't care. If they're actually getting paid that much, good for them. That's good for AEW superstars. And you know what? Right. The fact of the matter is, wrestlers getting paid a lot more than what they were in years past. I mean, that's great for them. Yeah. But to us fans, we're not seeing the money, so who cares?
Yeah. So I don't know, but we'll definitely have to see again. Like I said, as I keep saying, in due time. In the back, we had the conglomeration celebrating with the Babes of Wrath winning the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championships. We're off to a great start, aren't we? Not really. And then, of course, we had the I would say a very, very good video package for Mercedes Moné. She actually lost the championship, shockingly.
I think she lost too.
Wow. Now that's crazy. That's insane.
I think
she definitely lost the one that I know she lost for sure. She lost the Ring of Honor Women's TV Championship back to the women that she defeated for in the first place, and that being Red Velvet. So
very good match too.
Again, I don't know where they're going with Mercedes Moné. Maybe this is the beginning of the downward spiral that we have heavily talked about before, with her just kind of trickling down and losing all of these championships and what have you. But overall, very good video package. I enjoyed it, and it's intriguing to see what they do next with Mercedes Moné. So definitely something to keep a close eye on, I would say. The next thing we had, of course, we had Eddie Kingston back being interviewed by Renee about the World Championship match against Samoa Joe in the main event. He says today marks the 5-year anniversary that Terry Funk won the World Championship. Says he wants to make him proud. He knows he is watching, and of course he wants to make his parents proud as well. He said he is also 0-2 in championship matches. I just didn't like how, like, some of these segments, I think, in this program, I felt kind of rushed, like they were just kind of trying to hurry up and get to the next thing. It didn't feel like Eddie Kingston was even done talking, and they just like cut it and went right back to the ring. So I was just like, is that all he's going to say? Was he done? Is he not done? Yeah. Like, what just happened? Like, it seems like he was starting to ramp up to really, like, get angry, but it was just like they just cut it.
Eddie Kingston promo going, and they just cut him off. Yeah.
They did that to Statlander too. When Statlander did the attack backstage, she was getting ready to like yell something. They cut her off halfway. I'm like,
yeah.
You really just killed this segment. Like you literally could have, and I'm going to just kind of give you guys a little insight. Am I starting to accept the fact of Chris Statlander being Women's World Champion? Yeah, slowly but surely. The Tony Storm effect is kind of building up a little bit. Not as fast, but it's building up. By the way, Caitlin, yeah, I mean, you're up north. I mean, it's cold up there in like September already and snowing. And I mean, What is it up there? Because I'm like, it's like
I can
15
go
degrees here. It's 15 degrees here. It's ridiculous, and I'm in Pennsylvania, so But yeah, I mean, Chris Statlander, they had a huge opportunity to build momentum just on a backstage attack, and they were just like, yeah, fuck her. We're gonna cut this off. She's fuck her. Like, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? You guys literally run your TV show a half hour, 45, almost an hour late sometimes because you want to get your time in. You're running your show on Saturday at 4:00 because you're not going to want to run up against WWE and Saturday Night's Main Event and John Cena's last match and all that fun shit. You got all the time on this TV. You got time. If you're doing runovers the way you're doing, you got fucking time. The station will let you run. Give your superstars time, especially if they are champions. What are you doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think something that we don't really add emphasis on this program is their production. Some weeks their production is just pretty good. Like like the video package that I just talked about with Mercedes was great.
Her video package was good.
And then you have stuff that's live, and it's like, what are we doing? This feels like you guys are still in your first year. So it feels like you've learned nothing. What is going on? So I don't know. That is definitely something that
they've upped their video package game a lot.
For sure.
Absolutely. Ever since I believe it's Mike Mansory. I think he's back there now in AEW in terms of like production wise and everything. Ever since he really came in, the production in terms of the video packages has gotten a lot better. Yeah. But it's camera work. It's cutting things when you're not supposed to cut them, or just the timing of everything. That's what the AEW needs to get down next, because if they actually figure that out, maybe these men and women can actually cut the decent promos that they need to cut in order to get themselves over. And that's especially goes with Chris Statlander, because how can you get somebody as over as she possibly can be as champion if you cut her off like that?
Exactly. So I don't know. That's definitely something that so we don't talk about a lot, but yeah.
Mercedes Moné is still at 12. The only title she lost was the Women's World Television title. She only lost that one. Okay. So she's at 12 instead of 13.
Yeah. Either way, that's shocking to me, because
this should be the start of at least a downward spiral.
Well, I mean, Cam, if you think about the timing of the conversation we had a couple months ago, we said that start in like November, December, start having her lose championships, and that can lead her up to Revolution or Double or Nothing, to where she can lose her final one or finally become Women's World Champion. So the timing is kind of on point with what we talked about.
It's on the trajectory, but the thing is, when it comes down to all the other championships that this woman holds, and like it's kind of valid to say it in that way, it's mainly independent titles, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So in terms of that, I'm not like, you gotta, obviously when she's either booked on these shows, it's obviously going to draw for that independent promotion. That's obvious for when it comes down to the wrestling side of things. But in terms of her losing these championships as they continue to dwindle down, have at least commentary at least somewhat mention it. Get some kind of exposure for these guys, because if you're at least not getting the exposure for these independent promotions, or heck, even the person that does end up beating her, and we have no idea who the heck these people are, then what's even the point of having her win these championships in the first place?
So she currently has the TBS title she's had since May of 24. The CMLL Women's Championship since she's had of June of 24. The Rev Pro, which is independent since January. The EWA Women's Championship is independent since June. Chaotic Wrestling, that's independent. That's March. Primetime Wrestling, that's independent. So that's 4 independent titles since July. Bestia Women's Championship, that's independent. July. Discovery Wrestling, that's title number 6 from the independents. That's August. Body Slam, that's independent since October. That's 7. And then the rest of them, Winnipeg Pro since October. That's 8. And APAC That's 9 independent championships, and that's a House of Glory championship actually since November. So
House of
9 out
Glory is
of
pretty
her
big up there, but yeah, it's still independent.
9 out of her 12 championships are all independents.
Right. Yeah. So the majority of it's there. Just, make it worth the independence while. Is all I'm saying. Because if these guys and girls aren't kind of getting the recognition that they deserve for the Mercedes title runs and all that stuff, then what are you doing it for?
I don't know. Well, we'll definitely have to see if this is the downward spiral that we have been talking about for so long. The next time we had the new. I guess is he still new? I guess you could say new TNT champion with a brand new. Because we didn't really discuss that. But that's because he got the new championship design. I think after his match at Full Gear with Kyle Fletcher. But the new TNT champion Mark Briscoe donning his custom TNT championship, which suits him very, very well. He's having his in-ring interview about facing Danny Garcia, and that being I believe his first title defense thus far.
Correct.
In winning the TNT championship. Of course, the Death Riders, Wheeler Yuta, Danny Garcia, and of course Marina Shafir come out and cut him off. It's of course this almost ends up in a brawl. Oddly enough, though, as much as the Death Riders love 2-on-1, 3-on-1, 4-on-1, they are holding Danny Garcia back, which I found kind of odd. I was just like, any other time, they would have jumped at the idea of being able to beat up Mark Briscoe with the numbers game. That's their claim to fame, is the numbers game. So I thought that was kind of strange. In terms of just the idea, I guess, of him in his first title defense against Daniel Garcia. Like I said, I said this to Mike because I think his biggest gripe was his, Mark Briscoe's title reign has to be something interesting, something entertaining. They really have to get him involved in a storyline or whatever. For me, I had said this. I said you could. I prefer it, but you don't necessarily have to, because before this, Mark Briscoe was just kind of a journeyman, just kind of having singles matches for the sake of singles matches and then moving on to the next thing. That's realistically what his title reign is probably going to be. So I don't, as much as I'm not excited necessarily about him facing Daniel Garcia, I am not totally against it either, because it's right up Mark Briscoe's alley. This just has no story to it. This is just a straight up title match for the sake of a title match. His first defense. It's probably going to be decent, not necessarily 5-star, and it's going to be the match of the year, but it's a defense for the sake of a defense. It's on Collision, which I'm against, but I mean that's neither here nor there, I guess. But again, it's Mark Briscoe. It's just he's going to continue to do his thing, but like he was before he was champion. Now he's with the title, so he's going to be defending the championship against various different people. I just don't think you're going to have very little story with Briscoe. It's going to be a lot of defenses and then him just moving on to the next thing. So I don't see this turning into a series of matches with him and Garcia. This is probably a one-off, and then they move on to something else. So if you guys have any thoughts on the in-ring interview and just the idea of the first defense for Mark Briscoe in the TNT Championship, please, Phil, I'm going to start with you.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't mind if this actually kind of turned into a little bit more of a thing between Briscoe and Garcia, only because I know what Garcia can do in the ring. Even if he is a part of the Death Riders, I understand what he could possibly do for somebody like Mark Briscoe, being a first kind of real feud for him and that TNT title. I'm not going to say like it needs to be like a long, drawn out type of feud or whatever, but like you get like 2, maybe 3 good matches out of it. You can make something worthwhile out of it for, at least the first few title defenses for Mark Briscoe. But you gotta do something more than this for me. You do. And the thing is, when it comes down to Mark Briscoe and the TNT title, I don't want him to fall into the trap of just doing random title matches for the sake of random title matches, because we've seen this before with the TNT title, and it's not a good look. It's not. even if it is with somebody like Mark Briscoe, who is very highly respected and liked between everybody in the goddamn wrestling universe, you gotta do something. And even I mean, yeah, sure. When Kyle Fletcher held the TNT Championship, there really wasn't much in terms of storytelling and like for all the title offenses that he's had, but he was a part of the Don Callis family, and because of the Don Callis family being who they are, that's what it kind of held on to for me. So now you got it on Mark Briscoe. You got to get something rolling than just title matches for the sake of title matches. But it should be fine for whatever Saturday is going to be.
Mike?
I mean, yeah, we talked about Mark Briscoe doing storylines now that he's champion. They got, excuse me. They should make this a bigger deal than what it seems like they're making it so far. I agree. I hope that they don't do this whole, week to week, match to match type of thing. But at the same time, this kind of takes it back to the core of what this championship was created for. This is technically their men's version of their television championship. And television championship back in the day used to get defended every week on television, or for the most part, every week on television. I would have no problem if Mark Briscoe ends up defending his championship every week on television and just like impromptu matches and pop-up matches and stuff. But there's a but. At the same time, have a story being built for somebody that he would face at a pay-per-view or a big television event, because they sometimes like to make these big television events seem like pay-per-views. Then build a story along with doing these impromptu pop-up championship matches. Give us everything you can throw at us with Mark Briscoe being champion, because let's face it, this may be the only time we see Mark Briscoe at this level with the championship.
I mean, it's very possible.
We'll
definitely have to see. I don't mind that. Like I said, having maybe, as much as I don't like them, open challenge matches. You could highlight some people. I said this before. You definitely could highlight some people from Ring of Honor who are rarely or never on Dynamite. Highlight them, bring them up, and I think that they would have good matches. Again, Mike, I think you said this a long time ago that Mark Briscoe is he's a plug and play kind of guy. I think he can have a good match with anybody on that roster. So I don't think you have a problem there. It's just getting him involved in an interesting and entertaining storyline that's going to keep us interested in wanting to watch Dynamite every single week. So that's the issue now with this. But again, like I said, my feeling upon his first title defense right now is this is going to be a one-off. I don't see what else they do with it unless they add some interesting element in there and really drag this out for an interesting story. So, but we definitely have to see. Backstage, we saw the Sisters of Sin randomly appearing, attacking what appeared to be Taya Valkyrie, and I don't know whoever that other random person was they were attacking. I have no idea.
I just heard there were enhancement talents, but they could have been.
The one looked like Taya Valkyrie, but I could be wrong on that. I don't know. And then, of course, Statlander then comes for the save, swinging a steel chair, clearing the backstage area. Like I said, we talked about this earlier. She was beginning to say something, and then they just kind of cut that short and just went right back to.
She's like, I thought you guys wanted to fight or whatever, and then all of a sudden it just cuts off. So I was like, oh, just great. Cuts off. Can't even finish off what she wanted to say.
Great start to this feud, or wherever they're going with this. So, yeah, I don't know. That is our women's world champion right now, getting cut off. The next match we had the Ops versus Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. I didn't care for this match really. This just seemed kind of out of the blue. Again, with their claim to fame, because AEW just loves doing this kind of stuff. Yeah, staple guns and steel chains and we're going through a table, and I don't care. Again, I care about that kind of stuff. Again, when you have a story that is leading up to that, and then that stuff is exciting, because it's like, okay, this has been built up for 2-3 months, 6 weeks, 16 weeks, whatever. Then that stuff feels exciting. But when you're just doing it for the sake of doing it because you don't have much else going. It's not exciting. So the one interesting thing though, and this is, I talked about this at the beginning of the show. The one interesting thing off this whole winter is coming thing was when Swerve and Hangman were on the offense, I guess. They had that moment of their stare down. And I thought that was interesting just because, again, for me, I've been trying to make sense of their partnership since Swerve came back. Why did Swerve help Hangman? Why does he even care what's happening with Hangman Adam Page? I get it. Their feud is kind of on ice right now, and they have kind of mended fences and kind of on the same page for the sake of what, right now, because they have, I guess, a lot of the same common enemies or whatever. But it still doesn't make sense to me. Like, they're obviously not friends, and that stare down told me just that. They're still not friends, and we haven't forgotten like all the hell pretty much that we put each other through.
You can't forget what those two have gone through.
we're not done at all. That's what that moment of a stare down in that match told me, just in that segment. So that I thought was great. So I would love to refocus whenever they're finished with whatever's happening with Samoa Joe and the Ops and the World Championship. That to me needs to be the refocus is Hangman and Swerve, because that's not finished yet. So definitely would love to see them go again and reignite that feud because it was fantastic. One of the most enjoyable, violent feuds probably in AEW's history, honestly, if I'm being completely honest here. So
absolutely.
So yeah, loved it. So I would love to refocus and get back to that or whatever and move Joe on to something else. What, I don't know, but we'll definitely have to see when we get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So I'm gonna get you guys' thoughts on this tag team match, and of course the potential of it not being over between Swerve and Hangman. Mike, I'm gonna start with you.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I was really tuned out with this tag match. I didn't care too much about it. I didn't. But I will comment on Hangman and Swerve. I've said it a long time ago. I'm going to say it today, and I could probably say it in a year from now, and it will stay the same. That Hangman and Swerve's feud is basically plug and play. It is. Their feud is so huge that if AEW was in a pinch and they needed to add a match into a pay-per-view or add a match onto a card, or they needed a storyline to build up to, or a storyline to fit in somewhere because they don't have much going for them, they can say, Hangman and Swerve, let's go. Let's reignite this flame and let's get your feud on TV again. And that's all there is to it. I mean, and the question would be, well, how can you reignite it with both these guys being baby faces? It's very simple. One of them turns heel. They both can do it.
Oh yeah.
And it'd be a no problem. Hangman and Swerve are probably one of the most, if not the most successful feud in AEW history. And this is a feud. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever heard The Undertaker and Kane ever talk about their feud and their story. They always claim that their story is the longest story ever in WWE history because it went for so many years. It went for over 20 years. This is The Undertaker and Kane right here in AEW. Swerve and Hangman are The Undertaker and Kane in AEW. Their story can last 10 years from now, and it will be fine. It will be enjoyable, and they can plug it in at any moment, no matter how far apart they get in storyline. Hangman could be, downgraded to Ring of Honor, and Swerve can become world champion again. And AEW could be in a situation to where they need to plug in a storyline. They could bring Hangman right back, attack Swerve. We're off to the races, and that's it. So that's going to be that's the thing with Hangman and Swerve. They are the Undertaker and Kane of AEW.
Phil?
I kind of perfectly encapsulate them as like the heart and soul of this company. Like, the thing is, with everything that these two are about, they're teaming up for the sake of convenience because they both know what they both want, and that is the AEW Men's World Title. They both want the same thing, and that's exactly what these two have been kind of predicated on ever since the whole thing started between the two. Now, of course, the match, in terms of the match, it was fine. for what it was. What you got to see here in this tag team match was a little bit of a taste of what they can possibly be together if they got on the same page with each other. But there's always that kind of mindset in both of their minds saying, at the end of the day, I know who this guy is. I know what this guy is about, and he can turn on me at any moment. So I gotta have the eyes in the back of my head. And that's exactly what you saw in that stare down. Because they both know who they are, they both know what they want, and that is Samoa Joe and that men's world title. These two are easily in contention for that world title when that happens. Obviously, Hangman Adam Page, he wants the world title because later on, after this tag team match, I believe he had a backstage segment where he said, "Whoever walks out as the champion in the main event, I'm coming after that title," and that's probably going to be happening at World's End. But regardless, they both want the same thing. They know who they are. And both these guys will be in contention for that world title come 2026 and beyond.
Don Callis with a promo backstage. He says the Young Bucks stole his money. He says he will put them through the court system and put them in the poorhouse to get his money back if that's what it takes. Throws out a match with Hachicero, Takeshita, and Okada versus the Bucks and a partner of their choosing. I said this before the segment with Kenny even happened. I said I'm assuming that third partner for them would be Kenny Omega. And then we move on from there. We had a Stokely promo. This now again, we've talked about a lot about Stokely as well, being with FTR and whatnot have you. This is the best Stokely promo I think he's done. Period. This is, I want more of this version of Stokely versus the, I don't know, kind of goofier Stokely. He's kind of goofy with FTR, and I think that's kind of the water and oil.
He's so good.
He's so good. He's so good. And this promo, I think, was evident of that. So I would definitely like more of this Stokely with FTR. It would add so much to FTR right now. So good promo from Stokely, I would say. The next match, though, we got another Gold League Continental Classic match. Kyle Fletcher versus Speedball Mike Bailey. This is a pretty good match, to say the least. I had predicted that Kyle Fletcher was going to pick up the victory here. Shockingly, Mike Bailey comes out with the upset and wins this match for the Gold League in the Continental Classic. I'm going to get you guys' thoughts on this match. Kyle Fletcher versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Phil, let me start with you.
This match was nuts. First of all, I loved what they were kind of doing in terms of the story of the match with Mike Bailey and how they wanted to really kind of hit the nail on the head of this being kind of a must-win situation for Mike. And the fact that they actually had Mike Bailey win this thing was honestly very shocking for me because I honestly did not expect that. But the one thing that really kind of just got me invested in what Mike Bailey was doing in the ring with Kyle Fletcher is everything that Bryan Danielson was doing on commentary. Bryan Danielson just adds so much to that group of commentary team. It's so true when it comes down to what Bryan Danielson can do for all of the talent in AEW when it comes down to just his storytelling, because he's been there before. He's done so much in this business that he just brings so much equity to that entire booth for commentary purposes.
Mike?
This was a very good match. And I wanted, like, Speedball, he's continuously showing that he is a real deal in this tournament.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, part of me feels like that this might be the only win we see from Speedball Mike Bailey in this tournament. It does. It feels like this might be the only win. If you look at how Dynamite went tonight or last night, oh my God. Wow. Like I said, days are running together. If you look at how Dynamite was going up until the point of this match, the crowd, they seemed into very few things. So it felt like they needed to get something for the crowd to really be into, and that was have Mike Bailey come in and get this upset win. And like I said, I think this might be the only win we see from Mike Bailey in this tournament. I don't see him winning any other matches as we go along in this tournament, because things will get tougher for him. And so
backstage we had Hangman get interviewed by Renee. Says he is focused on regaining the AEW World Championship. Once again, like I said, based off, like I said, whatever happens with this whole Samoa Joe and the ops thing, whenever that concludes or whatever, like I said, I would love to refocus on him and Swerve. Because again, like I said, it was just a fantastic feud, probably one of, if not my favorite AEW feud so far in their 6-year history. So definitely have to see what happens there and what concludes between him and Hangman Page, or him and Samoa Joe, I should say. The next thing we got, of course, we got the Bucks knocking on the door of Kenny Omega, and as Phil has stated earlier, he says, "Hey, I'll just kick their ass for free. I don't even care about the money. So we're gonna do this one more time next week, trios match. So obviously that is something to look forward to. To again finally close the book on this. This feels like the finale of this whole Don Callis thing, and then we move the Elite on to something else. I don't know. Me personally, maybe this sounds crazy, but me personally, I would maybe move them back to the trios division and go after the trios titles.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
That's what I would
just
do.
Go trios titles.
Give those trios titles a boost because they need them. I mean, the ops are doing okay, I guess, but they don't really have a whole lot of.
They're not.
They don't.
Jack.
They don't have a whole lot of competition.
Just be real. They're not doing jack.
They're not. They really aren't.
They're trying to make those titles look good by Samoa Joe being the world champion. The world champion comes out, the trios championships come out. The trios championships are on TV, but they're not technically on TV because they're not being fucking defended.
Yeah.
That's that.
I'm not doing jack.
Look, it's about Joe, not the trio titles.
I make a big deal about champions, and Cam, I'm bringing it up again. You know me. I make a big deal about champions showing up on TV with their championships. Do not come out on TV or go in front of a camera without your championship. If you are a champion, stand strong with that belt around your waist, over your shoulder, in your hand, up your ass. I don't care. Have that title showing on TV. You can't have a title showing on TV if it's up your ass. I know. But I was just trying to be funny. But anyways, they're doing a good job with that, having the trios titles shown on TV, because Samoa Joe, who's the world champion, is part of the trios championships. Here's an idea, and I'm just kind of spitballing this. Since Joe is the world champion, why don't you give Joe's championship to Hook and let Hook work instead of having him come out and just look like Joe's little bodyguard that he can't be because Joe's fucking bigger than him, you know? Have him be a trios champion. Have Joe turn that belt over to Hook and have them work instead of having Joe double time it with 2 championships.
Yeah,
you can literally highlight titles that are dead in the water right now by having them being defended, with him simply handing that belt over Hook and saying, "Look, now everybody in the ops has a championship." They can be looked at as one of the top tier groups in AEW. Because the Death Riders are, no pun intended, dead in the water.
I don't mind that. Yeah, I think that makes a little bit more sense. But again, it's just all about, will they do it? Probably not. But
you could do that. But is that going to make more people realistically care about those trios titles?
No.
No. So, like, you got to do more than just give Hook a chance to work. And even that, the ops aren't realistically all that big enough to begin with right now. The realistic guy that they're focusing on is Samoa Joe. And that's it.
Yep.
But if you take that belt off of Joe, who is the world champion, instead of having him work double time, you can book the trios titles more on your shows. Because Joe, being the world champion, you're going to see him working more on his own with being the world champion, like he did last night. Last night, they could have made last night all about the ops. If they would put that trios title on Hook, okay? Let's say, for all extensive purposes, or I don't know if that's the right wording, but anyways, let's say, for instance, Joe won the world title and said, "You know what, Hook? Here you go. I'm going to be busy as world champion. You take my spot as a trios champion. Last night could have been a big, big night for the Ops if Joe wasn't holding that trios title. They could have defended the trios championships in hour number 1. And then in the main event, Joe defends the world title. And at the end of the show, the Ops stands tall with all of their championships in the ring. You can make them bigger by just making them look bigger. It's as simple as that. You can make somebody bigger by just making them look it. But then you got to continue that momentum.
And that's where I draw the line. Because they wouldn't.
Never know until you try. Something they haven't tried yet.
We've seen AEW's track record. That's all I'm saying.
That's what it always comes down to. It's just I don't trust them to actually do anything.
Like, I don't mean to knock the entire idea, because I 100% agree with you. Actually, like, doing the whole thing makes sense. Like, it does. 100% makes sense. But it's AEW's track record I have a problem with.
It's not so much if they would do it, it's always would they do it? And the answer is always no, probably not. Because they miss the boat so many times on opportunities to do anything interesting.
They've missed the boat a lot with Hook when they actually had a lot of momentum. Absolutely. And just nothing. So
yeah, they kept him on Collision too long, and it just killed his momentum completely.
Yeah.
So. But gentlemen, I believe yes, we have reached the main event. Which the main event was the World Championship match. Samoa Joe taking on Eddie Kingston. I think the most interesting thing about this match was there was a shout out to John Cena because Samoa Joe hit an attitude adjustment and he locked in the STF. So interesting. But of course, the Kikina clutch was locked in, and I think Eddie Kingston tapped out. I think.
Right. Yep.
And Samoa Joe retains the World Championship. No surprise there. So. I don't know what's next for Samoa Joe. Probably a rematch with Hangman and Page. I would assume. So yeah, we get there when we get there, I guess. Get your guys' thoughts on this main event: Samoa Joe versus Eddie Kingston for the World Championship. Phil, I'm sorry with you.
I mean, the match was for what it was. Honestly, this is just a really good showcase for Eddie Kingston. Other than that, we knew the writing on the wall when we saw it. Samoa Joe retaining AEW World Title. Eddie Kingston. This is I believe, only his 5th match since being back from injury. And they did this whole kind of thing with him to get a world title opportunity. But he was just never winning this thing by a long shot. Now, do I believe that he could, I love what Eddie Kingston brings to the table in terms of just who he is in AEW and what he could honestly be for AEW. And again, I say if they ever want to go that far with him, but it's a timing thing for him. It's realistically just kind of a timing thing for what AEW is doing. And Eddie Kingston right now, he just doesn't fit in anything to realistically get into huge championship type of caliber scenarios, feuds, or what have you, to really kind of give him the ball and let him run with it. I'd love for them to do it, but it's not happening. So they do what they do with Eddie Kingston, and I just hope that in the long term, maybe, just maybe, before he calls it a career, because I heard that he can honestly call it a career very soon, they do one last hurrah for the guy. And even if he doesn't win, just give him one last hurrah, because he's done a lot for AEW. In the early stages, at least. But it is what it is.
Mike?
I knew Samoa Joe was going to win this match. There was no way they were putting the world title on Eddie Kingston. They weren't even going to give us that surprise factor, for one. Number two, I'm glad Eddie Kingston got a shot. I'm happy for him. Great. But now what? I mean, we are 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away from World's End. You have 3 matches on your card already, which is kind of surprising because they never have matches on the card this early. But the Continental Classic semifinals, both matches, and then they're doing the finals. So for the first time ever, they're doing the Continental Classic semis and finals on the pay-per-view.
Which means they did that too, I thought.
No, they just did the finals last year. Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
I'll look. I have it up right here. I swear they just did the finals last year, but you might be right. I'm looking. I'm looking. No, yeah, you're right. They did do the semis. 23 is when they just did the finals. But anyways, it's just a fact. You have 3 matches on this card. You're 3 weeks away. You gave the giveaway that Hangman is most likely going to get a world title match. And I still have the feeling that we're going to get MJF back sometime in the next couple weeks and him challenging Joe. I don't see Hangman getting the title back. So match was good for what it was last night, though.
But gentlemen, that is all I got for you for 12/10. Technically, that was when the show was, but 12/11/2025 tonight for the Boom. Of course, now it is time to plug yourself. Phil, where can we find you?
TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, PhillyMed_. You guys can also follow me on Twitch there as well. Instagram, same thing. But I mean, we got a lot of things going on in pro wrestling right now. This weekend is huge. John Cena's final match. I was really trying to be there in Washington, D.C. for the match, but obviously, considering they want my arm, my leg, my kidney, and my car, it's not going to happen. So I'll be home. I'll be, just enjoying it from the comfort of my own home and doing predictions, a review, and we got a lot of things in the pipeline, so stay tuned. So it's really focused on John Cena and his final match all weekend long, so stay tuned to the channel.
Definitely stay tuned to the channel for Phil Khan. Got a lot of great content coming out of the pipelines there, coming out of this weekend, of course. But Mike, where can we find you?
Instagram, X, TikTok, Snapchat, Metal Mike 714 is where you find me. Me and Cam will be back Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Table Spot holiday special. Is going to be our top 10 wrestlers who we feel should excel in 2026. Not just win championships or anything, just excel. Just have a better 2026 than they had 2025. So come check that out, 7 p.m. on Monday night, right here on the networks. Sunday morning, I'll be live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/The Huddle Podcast, youtube.com/@The-Huddle-Pod. You can also head over to X and TikTok at The Huddle Pod and check out all the social media stuff we have up right now. I posted 6 videos in the past 24 hours, so there's a lot of new content over there to check out, plus the video game content that was just posted up this past week. I started my road to glory. John's been doing his road to glory in college football and his superstar mode in Madden. So the video game content is fairly new as well over on the YouTube channel. So go check that out. Come check out the show on Sunday morning and Tuesday night at 7 p.m. as well. So getting ready for the college football playoffs and getting down the stretch here in the NFL. So
definitely keep up with all of the content that Mike has coming and he's creating. Coming up, again, great content coming from him as well. As for me, of course, you can find me here every single Wednesday night with these two gentlemen talking about some AEW Dynamite here every single Wednesday night. And it's going to be very, very busy with the Table Spot involving our holiday special shows coming up. As Mike had said, our top 10 that we want to see grow and prosper in 2026. Top 10 wrestlers. So I'm very excited for that as well. We did one last week, so go check that out as well. It is up on the channel right now. And then, of course, check me out on my TikTok at Cam's Wrestling Corner. I posted like 2-3 new videos within the last couple of days. So talking about all the news and things like that coming out. Probably going to make a prediction show for Saturday's main event sometime this week. So check that out as well. I'm primarily more active on there more than anything else outside of the live networks here. And then, of course, as I already said, follow us on, come check us out again on the network. Table Spot next week for our holiday show for our top 10 wrestlers. And that is all I got for you guys. Once again, as always, love and appreciate you guys come by and checking out the stream tonight. As I always say at the end of every stream, love, peace, and prosperity. And we are out.